Next up here on the morning show, we put the focus on the Ithaca School District. In the studio with us today, Dr. Claire Federley. We have Marty Richards, who's a school board member, and community member Steve Lewis in the studio with us as well. Marty, you're here because a recent survey was out to Ithaca School District members.
Yeah, so I'm the chair of the Facilities and Transportation Committee there on the school board, and over the course of the last 3 years, I think first off, I had an eye-opener. They named me. I didn't know what I was getting into. It's the old, hey, why don't you run for the school board? It's only one meeting a month, blah, blah, blah. They were liars, I just want to mention. And I became the chair of that committee, and literally within 2 months of trying to just get my feet wet, our building and grounds folks came up and said, oh, by the way, we need to replace 4 or 5 boilers. And boilers in commercial buildings these days are not cheap. And so that was an eye-opener that, whoa, do we have a plan? Maintenance plan, just replacement maintenance for things. And so from that, we engaged with a company called Upper 90, who is what you would call a fee-for-performance organization. So that we don't pay them a dime to consult and help us with it. They put a whole building plan together for us of maintenance. They came, looked at everything. And I was glad to have the plan of how to conduct maintenance on a facility that the majority of it is 32 years old now. And that's lost.
We forget that a little bit.
It's routinely in my own family. It's, well, are you going to the new school? And I'm like, hold on. The new school is 32 years old. And we uncovered some concerns there because the roofs were 32 years old. The different units, heating units and things were 32 years old. And just think about your house. It's no different. If you've got a 32-year-old roof, you got some issues, and we did. So we tried to put a plan together, and we did, to be able to kind of start rotating and fixing things and replacing things. And we've been able to do that somewhat. So from that, we thought, okay, we've got to take a little deeper look at what does the future look like and what should we be doing to take an opportunity for potentially some growth opportunities for us to attract students to Ithaca schools in areas that we knew we were strong in and that the community body or the students in our area would be attracted to. And so through that, Upper 90 helped us out. We formed a community facility committee, and there were several members on that committee, and Steve was a member of that committee, and he can kind of talk about that. But through that process, we uncovered some things, maintenance-related, safety-related, just general services to our student body, but then also looking forward where we potentially could grow the district and grow that student body as well and serve our community better. So that process, I'll let Steve talk about that process. That was a lengthy and detailed process, but it helped us get to where we are today of looking for community input. So
was it eye-opening for you, Steve?
Yeah, and I was on the school board for quite a few years and was on the buildings and grounds back then too. But, you quickly fall out of touch with that, when you're not there all the time and kids leave school and that. And, so one of the first things we did was take a tour of everything. And you pretty quickly see that, there's a lot of buildings and a lot of maintenance that needs to be done. And so you pretty quickly see, okay, there's things that need to be addressed. And then just looking to the future, what needs to be done going down the road.
Yeah, we forget. 32 years for your roof, for instance. You've gotten good use out of your roof. That's pretty good. I don't know what it was extended for, but
yeah, they did, and things have been well taken care of. When we walked around, the Upper 90 gets into a lot of buildings and things like that, and they were shocked at a lot of the things that you run 3-4 kids through your house all the time. What damage is done and what wear and tear is done. Now run 300 through, and there's just things that happen, but they were amazed at how well things were kept up. but still things just wear out. They have a useful life, and that was one of the things they put on us. They put a life on, life expectancy on things, windows, doors, things like that. It was an incredibly detailed plan, and it was very eye-opening on some of these things that they're like, these things are in good shape, but a lot of these things were past what we expected life expectancy of them are, which shows you what a good job the district has done in maintaining things, but things still wear out.
And in terms of codes, are there some new codes, like if there is a building plan that you have to follow?
I don't think any of those came up. There's a few things here and there. There's always some little details, on inspections that come up and different things in that. But there wasn't anything major. I think the biggest one was down in the old gym. There's some real big issues coming up there on if we want to keep going on that, on some codes that were brought up that would be very expensive to keep going on that. And that was one of the big things with this facility planning committee was looking at doing things, and we didn't want to, if we make any major builds, we didn't want to make a mistake and say, oh, shoot, looking down the road, if we do this, we put that where we shouldn't have. That was a big thing, addressing the needs that are coming up and looking at future needs so there's no mistakes made. Everything is planned for in a master plan.
Dr. Claire Federley is here as well. Education has certainly changed over the course of that time, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. One of the things on the survey that I'm very excited to see how the community is feeling is the CTE, so career and technical education, and then the ag side of it, because I feel strongly that rural schools best prepare kids for certain jobs that Wisconsin needs. When you think about the industries that are around us and you think about the industries that kind of keep Wisconsin's economy running, those are the things that we are really trying to focus on and make sure that we're very good stewards of the taxpayer dollars so that when we send those kids out into the jobs, they're ready. We have an incredibly strong youth apprenticeship program. We win awards for it all the time. People rave about it. We have really good connections with different local businesses, and we're super grateful for all of that. But we also have to continue that. And when you think about different industries and all the technology that is being put into things that just simply didn't have that before, we need spaces that kids can then learn those skills in order to become well equipped to be in those jobs.
How about security? I know that's a part of it as well. I mean, that's in this day and age.
Yes, school security, very obviously a hot button issue. Our entrance needs some love, and that is expensive, and there's no other way to say it. When you look at the things that are required for schools to have in order to keep students safe in comparison to even 20 years ago, it's just so different. And again, technology is much different. And with the advent of if someone did want to do harm to our student, those people came through school when there was security measures, so you're constantly having to amp up your game and stay current and keep current things. And we do an incredibly good job right now. The school is already very secure, but having a couple other features I think would be really helpful and would alleviate some of the burden that we make physical people do right now, where it would just be something that exists all the time. So yes, it needed. And same thing with special ed. That's another safety area for us. We need some more customized areas for students with individual education plans. And we want to get to a place where every single student that we have has everything that they could ever possibly need within our four walls, so that we're not constantly sending out for therapies or something like that.
Marty, the survey went out in the mail last week. Some things you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, I really, I encourage people, number one, to read it, because it is very well written with an education of the voter or the individual taking the survey. I understand how it works. I had kids in school. While my kids were in school, I probably went to 2 school board meetings the whole time. Okay, so, and we had a little bit of email communication towards the end, but there wasn't a ton of communication. So you didn't know what pressures or what issues the school board was having to work with that then, went down to the staff as well. So once I got on the school board, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's quite a bit going on here. I think a good point that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of is, we were kind of excited for our budget this year that special education funding was going to be increased to 45%, I believe it was. And lo and behold, no, that's not happening. Even though it was written in a bill and passed in the state budget, that money's not coming. Well, what's happening there? So there are so many things that you become aware of. And I think in the survey, for those who are in the Ithaca district, get the survey, whether it's been mailed, should be mailed to you. If you didn't get it in the mail, you can go to the website, the Ithaca School District website, right at the top front page, click into it, and it'll get you there. And my email's right there. If you can't get a copy of the survey for some reason, or if you haven't got one, call the school. But first, and I get it, I don't want to pay more. I hate paying property tax. I really don't enjoy paying property tax, okay? However, I understand we have some real needs, but yet we're still situated very well to educate our community and beyond for some time. And I really encourage people to read that survey, fill the survey out, and be frank, and also be factual. I've had some interesting discussions with community members. Some that are just great discussions. Some are, you just want me to sell my property. No, that's why we're asking for input. We want to hear what your pressures are. And I understand it's not easy. There's, inflationary pressures and everything. However, we have a great opportunity in front of us. And I'll take you back. I'm very entrepreneurial, thinking forward a lot of times. Terry and I built rental cabins right as COVID was ending and the supply chain was getting tight and inflation and interest was starting to go up. And I'm sure people looked at that and thought, what the heck are you doing? But we were ahead of the curve. And we built those cabins. They've been very successful. We missed the truly supply chain issues, and it's built into a really nice business it's busy now. It'll be busy in the winter because we thought you also have to have an attraction, a sauna, and that keeps them full in the winter. Well, at the school, it's no different. There's things inside of the survey as you read it, specifically on the consumer technical education side that Dr. Federle mentioned, that will attract students to our district that aren't there now. So I really encourage people, read the survey. And I hate reading surveys myself. Surveys better last 10 minutes or less in my world, really 5 minutes or less. But this is a really important one, and it's everyone's opportunity in the district to communicate with us where they're at. Not just a yes or a no. It's, hey, read the survey, and then there's notes sections all over the place. Just let us know what you're thinking, and then if there's not enough room or you have a concern, reach out, because we do want to get that input.
Yeah, you're just looking for input right now. It's not a done deal, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
We are absolutely listening right now. This survey, I'm very excited about it in the fact that it's going to give us a pretty clear picture on our community's priorities. I know that it can seem like a lot of money for some of these things, and we are going to have to prioritize some of the pieces of it. Yes, it's never going to get cheaper, especially construction. So what can we do with what we have now? What are people willing to support? What direction do they want to see us go? Because we've sat down with Upper 90. We have roughly a 30-year plan, and I want to be an incredibly wise steward with the money that is given to us in a way that makes the school as good as it can be for as long as it can be in all the areas that our community needs.
This isn't just kind of feeding off from that, Phil. This isn't a sole reason that, we should do it now.
Yeah.
And we need to go through we want to get the information and everything else, but I do want voters in the district and anywhere to understand the projection is if we wait a year, that would add $600,000 due to inflationary pressures, interest, and things like that. And when we think about what it took to build that building in 1994, and now you look at those two price tags of what we're looking at of just kind of remodeling, retooling, adding on a little. That'll shock you at night too if you see those numbers.
Doesn't affect me with a single family home as much as it does you, Steve. For instance, you own a business in that area, a lot of land. Why do you think it's important?
Yeah, you're always moving forward or falling behind, one of the things. So biggest thing is the committee was tasked with, looking at what the needs of the school were. So we did that. So now the next part is, what the community thinks we should have and what we'll support. And, by looking at those things and what we uncovered, the needs of it, the biggest shocking factor is the weighting just puts the price tag higher and higher and higher, and also puts our students behind. Right? So we have some of these areas that these kids are really striving to go into, and there's a lot of kids wanting to go into these areas for future employment, and we're behind the game on being able to provide those with the facilities we have. If you're interested, sometime go down and ask to tour the shop areas and that, and you walk in there and you're just like, oh boy, how are these kids going to be able to be prepared for going forward in some of these things? And yeah, it affects everybody. It affects us more than most, but it's also an investment in our community. If we want these kids to come back and be future employers or workers in our community, we have to show them that we supported them when they were here.
You employ a lot of Ithaca students at Oakwood Fruit Farm during the season, don't you?
A lot of first-time jobs are there, that's for sure. And we've always been very fortunate between Ithaca and Richland Center kids to be able to work with a lot of really good kids. And it's really so much fun to watch those kids go and flourish in their future. And that's one thing, so, we have to be willing to support them in their education. And it is expensive. But what isn't, and what isn't going to get more expensive, and that was one of the biggest shocking things to me is the projections going forward, and of what these things are going to cost if we wait. But that's why we're asking the community. What do they think? What are their what should we be zeroing in on now? That's why you do a survey and ask questions.
Mm-hmm. The estimated amount you'd be looking at, Marty, as far as money, or is there a determined amount?
Yeah, oh man, I want to make sure I say it right. And you hand me something without what size print?
Need a bigger font.
So yeah, it right now the projection, if we did everything that the Community Facility Committee was coming up with, is approximately $13 million, and that for me, I kind of understand that's a big investment, but it is going to position us, if we were to pull the trigger on that, it would position us to where we can attract more students in. A lot of folks I talked to years ago, they'd say, well, you should run a school more like a business. Okay, here we are running it like a business. For years ago, education kind of had this trend to really try to gear kids towards four-year universities. That was really, really a stress. Well, we understood now, we really, in this area, in Ithaca, Richland Center, Richland County area, and even surrounding counties, a lot of those jobs that we were gearing those kids to were not in our area. They were gearing and educating them to leave the area. Well, now, if you talk to anybody in a trade, we need builders, right? We need builders, we need plumbers, we need HVAC people, ag support positions, diesel mechanic, for crying out loud. We need those folks. And for us to really be able to do the quality job of education that we think we can do and attract more students to keep them not just at Ithaca schools, but in the area following their education, these are the kind of steps we need to take.
More students, as you mentioned, Dr. Federley, heading toward maybe more hands-on things, and we're getting them into the workforce a little bit faster than we used to, correct?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Waniwak School District and went to Waniwak, and I'm a very big advocate for small rural schools. I picked this job because of that, and looking at the student population that we have and the way that we are preparing them is amazing, but I want to ratchet that up a lot more. We have a really good working relationship with Southwest Tech. Over the next couple of years, we're going to be adding more transcripted credit, but we can't do some of those classes without different facilities. We can't teach some of those classes without the different tools and spaces that we need in order for those kids to experience those things. And so right now we're a little bit hamstrung with our facilities on what we can do to prepare kids, but I believe in my, personal heart that those jobs are the jobs for the best lives. Like having students go off and get those trades and live in our community and raise families here, like that is the good life. I'm not saying I don't want doctors and lawyers and all of that. Obviously, I believe in four-year institutions. I have a doctorate. I teach classes for Viterbo. But that is really where the heart of our work is, and I want to see those kids come back to the community, contribute to the community, send their kids. Like I love how many kids we have that, mom and dad went to school here, grandma went to school here, like all of those are my favorite stories, and I want to keep that going, but we can't if we don't have them ready for the jobs that are going to keep them in the community in a successful fashion.
And down the road, Marty, you're looking at maybe declining enrollments. It's always brought up, but this is a chance to maybe keep those enrollments steady anyway.
Right. I think if you think about it, and don't get me wrong, I was in the arts. I was in band. I was an actor in the musicals and plays, and I think that's important to be able to sell ourselves in public once we get into the work career. But at the same token, I know at Ithaca we can attract kids and families that are interested in the trades. We see it already. Our technical education teacher, who you know well, James Nee, we had to add an extra hour to his day last year because of the popularity of his classes. I know Melissa Sprecher has done a fantastic job. Our FFA group, has been to nationals and has been in competition. Josie Lau, receiving national recognition for her work. So, we do attract kids in those venues, and it's incumbent upon us, I think, to then give them a facility that can serve that attraction, how we can attract. Kind of know your lane is what it's about. Understand your population and then be able to serve that population. But also, we're going to see, and we already have seen, families and children from outside of Ithaca School District come to Ithaca because of reasons like that.
In terms of down the road, are you looking at some community groups maybe getting together and kind of getting that information out there?
Well, the first thing we need to do is we need people to read the survey and fill the survey out. And do not go to your neighbor and tell them how horrible of an idea or great an idea, I don't care which, and not fill the survey out. Please fill the survey out. We are getting them back fairly strongly, I know. I've had some communication with Mario from Upper 90, and he said, no, we're going to get a representative sample, but we'd like more. And we really need to see that first, Phil, because that's going to give us some direct. We're genuinely hoping and expecting the community to give us the direction of what the next step is. So if they were to say, yep, great guns ahead, or hey, maybe scaled down, I support this area but not that area, that I don't see the importance in that part of it, we may have to take another look at it. But at some point, if we were to move forward with something, yes, there would definitely be public engagement, different sessions in person. We'd also offer it, I'm sure, online. But just an opportunity then to be able to tell the story a little more about where we're at.
Is there a deadline to get the survey back?
There is. I want to say it's December 2nd or 3rd. It's like the week before the 8th, towards the end of the week. So I would say go with December 3rd. Mm-hmm. Because I know they need time to put it together. 4th. I was
close.
I'm pretty, horseshoes and hand grenades and survey results. So, we'll go with December. Hey, I gave the conservative answer. Mario would have been impressed.
Very much so.
Usually I'm pushing things, but if you'd really get those in by the 4th, we'd really appreciate it. But I really encourage people read the survey and then fill the survey out.
Anything you'd like to add this morning, Steve?
No, just that, we've done our due diligence and looking and seeing what and planning for the future. Now we just really need the community to let, the school district know what their feelings are. And that's exactly why we're doing this and being very transparent in this whole process of, does the community want us to continue on with, and if they do, what areas are they in support of or not? That's why the survey is out there. It's just to get the community's opinion.
If it goes well, would you look at a referendum in the spring then? Is that kind of the goal?
Possibly, yeah. It depends on what the survey kind of leads us towards. Referendums feel very inevitable these days. Last April, I think, there was 94 referendums in the state of Wisconsin. There's only 421 school districts, and some of those are just high schools. Like if it's a unified district, referendums are absolutely, feels like a necessity in public education right now, which I would rather have it not be that way, but we're going to do whatever it takes to serve our students.
And one point that I'd make sure everybody understands, and whether you're Ithaca, Richland Center, Riverdale, Spring Green, River Valley, that you understand this point. There are two different types of referendums, and we really didn't talk about that. We probably should have let off there. And that is, there's operating referendums, which the only school districts not running operating referendums these days are the urban, high-density population school districts, even though even Milwaukee had to run an operating referendum recently. And that's to just continue the operations of the district for a time period. That's an operating referendum. This is a capital. If we were to get the results back and we see where, yep, the community supports a portion or the whole concept, then that would be a capital operating referendum because you're working on the buildings, you're improving or building a building. That's a capital referendum. So it's very important to know that, we went for the operating referendum to cover that overage of an expense and the lack of state funding that we were getting. And just a clear point, Ithaca School District today gets the same per pupil support from the state that we got in 2011. Now, if everybody would think about that for a second, if you wonder why are school districts always asking for money, well, here's the deal. We are operating with revenues the same as they were, 14 years ago, okay? If you try to run your household in today's inflationary situation from that time frame with the same pay that you were getting in 2011, you'd be looking for money from somebody too. So just understand, this is not frivolous spending. No. It is not just careless management. It is simply the way the world works today. And I bring that up, that the revenues from the state or the return of those tax dollars is at 2011 levels. I've already mentioned that they're not funding special education as they said they would. Plus, and this is a whole nother episode of voucher school money that is removed from our budget by the state due to voucher schools. So, and I believe you've had Representative Kurtz on in the past and Senator Kajewski to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And that, there's this boat anchor weight on rural schools. And Richland Center, River Valley, those are still rural schools. So Ithaca's right in there with them, of state funding that continues to weigh down even operating just general operations. But that's back to the point. That's operating referendum. So then to make those improvements or to add on facility, that would be a capital referendum. And that's what we would be discussing about in the future here, near future.
Dr. Federley, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, not to be like a Pollyanna about it, but it's a Wisconsin problem. Like, it's unique to the way that our funding system is set up. If we were, let's say, in Montana and you need a new school, you go talk to the state, you prove to them, they have a fiscal worksheet, and then they build you a school and you get to pick between one of the five. But the negative, I would argue, of that is nothing's customizable. And that's why this survey is so incredibly important, because we want to do exactly what our community wants, exactly what our community needs. We want to serve students in the most efficient and effective way that we possibly can. And we can't do that if we don't have people's opinion. And this survey is the way that we're getting everyone's opinion. So please fill it out. We want to listen to what you have to say.
Doesn't cost you anything. There's a stamp on the envelope to send it back.
So. You do it online. Wouldn't cost a dime.
Yeah, just a little effort.
Yes.
So, good deal. Well, we appreciate you guys coming in here and being transparent on what's going on. And you'll come back, I think, with the survey results and let us know, right?
You bet.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Claire Federley, along with Marty Richards and Steve Lewis from the Ithaca District here on The Morning Show.